I clicked. Yeah, okay. I think maybe. Okay. Oh, I think we're doing this. Hi, everybody. This is Chris Hinds, Denver City Council District 10. We're doing Facebook Live for the third week. Guess what? We're continuing our improvements, technological improvements. I have a microphone now. I don't know if you can see that, but hopefully the audio quality is better this week and you don't hear this whoosh from the laptop fan and the soft pitter powder of finger typing on the keyboard. So anyway, in case you don't know, Denver City Council's District 10 is also known as Denver's Perfect 10. And it includes Uptown, Capitol Hill, Golden Triangle, Cheeseman, Congress, Cherry Creek, Country Club, Belcaro, and the north half of Spear, also known as Alamo Placida. Can you tell I've said that before? Okay. So I want to do a recap of the week, but I also want to say we're doing this every Friday from 1:30 to 2, and we're doing it. We're starting at 1:30 and ending at 2, just so that we can beat Brother Jeff's broadcast. So, Brother Jeff, what the f? We thought you were you were going live at 2. So anyway, we're we're specifically ending at 2 because I know that Brother Jeff normally starts at 2, but he's live now. So hopefully you'll tune in to us, and then at 2 we'll hand you over to Brother Jeff. Also, I want to say that occasionally we'll bring on guests onto the show because this is a show, right? And some would call it a circus. Anyway, is there anyone you want to hear from? Because we would love to have them on. We'd like to provide information that is important and interesting and relevant for you. And so if you have suggestions, please let us know, and we'll do our best to succor them. Get them on to the show. I want to talk about the Monday meeting. So we had a city council meeting on Monday night, and one of the conversations that we had on Monday night was about a vacation. And by vacation, we don't mean the Bahamas or Hawaii or wherever. We mean a vacation as in we're vacating land that is owned by the city to the adjacent property owner. And so in this case, the conversation was about 2099 Chestnut, and it's this piece of concrete that has a B-cycle rack on it and a couple trees, I think. But the idea is that there was a hotel or a construction company and a developer that wanted to build a hotel, and they wanted to take this land that was right now used as right-of-way. It's technically considered right-of-way, and the developer wanted this land for $1,600, basically free. The market value is kind of up in question, but the developer said it was only $800,000. There was another estimate that put it over $2 million. Either way, it's way more than $1,600. And so let's talk a minute about why the amount was $1,600 and why that was under consideration. And spoiler alert, City Council voted against this, but let's dive into it a little bit. So what was happening is apparently the city, a lot of cities, but in this particular case, Denver, get land given to them, and sometimes they give up land, and that's just a natural part of the process in the city. When things are built, we want to make sure that we have sidewalks around those things, and so sometimes when there's new development, they have to give up pieces of land, and sometimes the city recognizes that, hey, we're not using that land anymore, so then they give it up. In this case, there was a contingent purchase agreement where a developer was purchasing this piece of land contingent on getting this right-of-way vacation for the $1,600 fee. And so we talked a fair amount about what we could and couldn't do. Apparently, there's state law that prevents us from paying, prevents us from getting market value. So whatever that $800,000 or $2 million or somewhere in between, we cannot require anyone to pay fair market value. And apparently the intent was sometimes we lose land, sometimes we get land, and if we're getting land for free or cheap, then the state doesn't want us to profit off of that and then turn around and sell it. But this was actually the third time we had this conversation at council, and the previous two conversations were at least an hour, and then this conversation was also an hour. So we spent a lot of time talking about this particular vacation, and ultimately we voted against it. My particular position and what I said on Monday night when I had comments right before I voted was, let's talk about values. And I talked a lot about values over the last year, and the values that I had were that we all need access. We need access to housing, transportation, and representation. And so if I look at those values in this vacation, let's think about housing for a second. I mean, I think we all recognize that we have a housing shortage, a housing crisis here in the city. But bringing a new hotel to Denver doesn't address that. So I didn't really see how this vacation met that value. And then transportation, when I talked about transportation, I talked a lot about how we need to encourage non-car transit. Well, what does this proposed hotel want to do with this space? They want to create a driveway, this covered driveway, and then put a whole bunch of hotel rooms above it. But like that doesn't make a whole lot of sense either. And as far as my values are concerned, because we're encouraging, that would effectively encourage more car transit, not less car transit. And then so representation, there was a lot of conversation about there was one group who said that they spoke for the neighborhood, and there was another group who also said they spoke for the neighborhood, but their views or their opinions were basically diametrically opposed. One said, we speak for the neighborhood, we're the RNO, and everyone wants this vacation except that one guy. And then that one guy gets up and he says, look at all these other people that I represent. And so it was really difficult for me to on Monday night to determine who's right. And so going back to representation, I think that begs a larger question that's beyond just this particular conversation, and that's about RNOs. And so RNOs are in statute. They are, or in ordinance, city law, not state law. And the RNOs in Denver, they are officially the way the city talks with the residents. So registered neighborhood organizations are in Denver Municipal Code, and they are designed to be the official vehicle that the city communicates with residents. And so I think that it's reasonable to say that there are some RNOs that do a better job than others. And I think it's also reasonable to say that there are some RNOs that intentionally attenuate the conversation of some of the residents because those conversations don't keep in line with the narrative that the leaders of that RNO have. So in a larger conversation, I'd like to hear your thoughts about your neighborhood organization, or organizations more likely. I think I have 7 RNOs that represent me personally where I live in my house, which is a little confusing, but that's part of the conversation. Do we need 7 different organizations for my house? Uh, I don't know. That really confuses me because I don't know who I should talk to, and then also that gives me, in some ways, an opportunity to shop my opinion around. And maybe one RNO agrees with me and one RNO disagrees with me. Well, then it's kind of like playing mom off dad, except that I have 7 parents in this case instead of just 2. And so anyway, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Has anyone had any questions? Feel free to ask questions if you have any.
You got a thanks for your vote on the Chestnut property.
Ooh, you're welcome. Anonymous
No
stranger.
question. It was Leslie.
Oh, hi, Leslie. And you're welcome. And let's see. Anything else? No? Oh, okay. Well,
It's great.
yeah.
It's a great one.
All right. So let's see. So we ultimately voted against 2099 Chestnut. We as in a body, and then me personally, because I think it's very important for us to have elected officials who have a system of values and use those values to guide their decisions. And one of the things that I talked about, in addition to housing, transportation, and representation, is that we need development that happens for the city, not to the city. And I'm not sure that I see how this is really helping the city and the neighbors immediately around it, around the development. So there you have it. Let's see. Check my notes. What are your ideas about RNO reforms? I kind of said that, but I want to be explicit. I want to make sure that you have access to representation, and would love to have you submit your recommendations or thoughts or suggestions, opinions. What about meeting times? Do you feel like the RNOs meet at times that are that make sense? And frankly, that's part of the reason why we want to do this live stream, is because we heard a lot about representation or lack thereof in District 10, and we want to make sure that we provide information in a variety of ways. And some of that means specifically coming out into various areas of the neighborhood, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But it also means making sure that we provide different ways to interact too. So sure, you can call us, sure you can email us, sure you can see us as we go into the community, sure you can go to your RNO meetings, and if we don't have representation there, I might be a new RNO, but I think we've done a pretty darn good job of making sure that at least one of the 4 of us in the District 10 office are at most of the RNO meetings. So there's that. What else is going on around the district this past week? Well, if you have your head in sand, or more likely snow, just so you know, there's been a whole lot of snow this week. And so there were a lot of snowstorms that meant a couple late starts for the city. It also meant an early close for the city. That meant that that people with disabilities were likely cooped up for a while, and just because it's difficult to get around. Just so you know, the municipal code in Denver about shoveling your snow is that businesses should shovel their snow 4 hours after, and residents 24 hours after the snow stops. So earlier this week, we had snow that continuously happened for 48 hours, or there were brief stops in the snowfall, but just for what it's worth, the law says that it's 4 or 24 hours if you're a residence or business after the snow stops. So while it's still snowing, it's not against the law to not shovel the snow, and that means that people in wheelchairs like me are just basically homebound for a while. So there's that. But it also definitely slowed down the city. It slowed us down. So I apologize if we haven't already responded to requests that have come in. I think I've mentioned this before, but in case I haven't already, we've received more than 18,000 emails, and that's actually a number that's a little dated. It's been a few weeks now that we came up with that number, and so I don't know what the number is now, but we get a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls, and so we're doing our best to provide good constituent services. If you feel like we're not providing constituent services, well, hang on with us a little bit longer because when we took office, the day we took office, we didn't have computers, we didn't have phone, we didn't have desks. So so we're still, I think we have computers, phones, and desks now. Now we have a live stream feature, and so we're still we're playing a little bit of catch up, but we're getting better and better and more prepared to be more proactive on addressing constituent concerns. One thing we did get to go to is Historic Denver had their annual awards dinner, and I want to give a shout out to Councilwoman Debbie Ortega. She got an award, specifically the Molly Brown Award, and Dr. Tom Noel was the Keystone Award winner for his love of Colorado history, which is basically the Lifetime Achievement Award for Historic Denver. And here's a did you know? Liz, did you know that District 10 has the most historic most historic buildings in the entire city?
I had no idea.
Wow.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, we're full of it, full of information. So, so the things you learn by joining us on Fridays at 1:30. So also, and I want to thank Historic Denver for all the work that they do. I want to thank all the people who are there and the members and supporters of Historic Denver, because a lot of the people who are there are in the trenches, making sure that Denver is the amazing place it is that we all enjoy and celebrate. So let's talk about 5G cell towers. How much time do we have? A few minutes left. 11 minutes. Oh, plenty of time. Let's talk about 5G cell towers. So yesterday morning we had another meeting with Verizon, Excel, Public Works, a whole bunch of attorneys there, and we continue to talk about what our options are as a city, and more specifically as a city council district office, to address concerns about all these 5G cell towers that keep coming into our neighborhoods, and so I'm not sure we are totally there on all the things that we can do. I would say that we heard from Public Works that there is an update imminent. We're told it's actually going to happen today. We haven't been able to verify that it's actually happened today, but there's an update to the small cell infrastructure guidelines that the city has that they use to guide basically guide the telecom companies into what they can and can't do regarding cell tower installations. And so how did we get here? Well, government chases technology. Technology is, the innovation with technology is people invent stuff and then they put that stuff out into the wild, including the city of Denver, and Denver goes, ooh, well, maybe we should do something about that. So unfortunately, it's just a fact of government and technology. Government always plays a little bit of catch up with the adoption of technology and how that impacts people just people in general, but in our situation, people in Denver. And so as we continue to put out better and better guidelines, and we require the telecom companies to follow those guidelines, there's a little bit of catch up. and a bit more of the catch up because our permitting process takes months. And so a permit that was issued yesterday doesn't have to fall or doesn't have the requirement to fall into the guidelines that we have announced as of, say, today. So, and the permit that was issued today, construction might not happen for another few months. So, so I hope you bear with us a little bit. We continue to get educated. We're putting together a frequently asked questions list, and we've gotten buy-in from everyone on board, everyone we've talked to so far, that they will, we're summarizing all the questions that we've received, and we're going to send them out to Verizon, Excel, AT&T, and Public Works, and then we're going to come up with one set of answers for everyone, so that we're all on the same page and we don't have, again, playing mom off dad. You know, everyone's all on board. So the city has, if you don't know, the city has a web page specifically for small cell services, and I think the website is denvergov.org/content/denvergov/en/right-of-way services/permits/smallcell.html, or you could just Google Denver small cell, and I think it'll come up. Let's see. So I think we're getting close to the end of our time because I'm trying to be courteous for Brother Jeff. So talking about next week, we actually have a meeting with the new Director of Planning, Lisa Aldrete, who was just hired. We're going to talk about the East Central Area Plan, which is another hot topic in District 10, in Denver's Perfect 10. And so we will also plan a rolling/walking tour with her in the near future, so we can share all the cool stuff about District 10 and help, improve the relationship between District 10 and our planning group, the Central Planning and Development. In case you didn't know, there's an election and it's Tuesday. So November 5th, ballots are due by 7 p.m. I really hope that you exercise your right to vote. It's important that we get information out, that people make decisions based on facts, and that people vote. So I feel strongly about that. Speaking of values, I think that if we have everyone who lives in District 10 who's informed and has facts and feels like I'm not the right leader and I'm voted out, I think that's fine. I think that's the way our democratic process should run, and so I really hope that that you are, if you haven't already voted, that you are considering how you will vote, and I hope that you turn in your ballot by Tuesday at 7 p.m. Guess what else is happening next week? We're having a perfect 10 happy hour. So Thursday, November 7th at 6 p.m. at TAP 14. It is at 19th and Logan. We're having a happy hour. This is part of our commitment to making sure that we engage with the community in various neighborhoods, but also at different times. I know that some people were concerned by my predecessor because he only had meetings during business hours, and of course that meant only a certain set of people could attend the meetings. So we are having coffee meetings on Thursday mornings some weeks, and we're having this as a happy hour meeting in the evening, so that if you do work traditional business hours 8 to 5, then you have an opportunity to still to meet with me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. So again, Thursday, November 7th, 6 p.m. at TAP 14. That's a lot of numbers. Perfect 10, 7, 6, 14. There you go. At 19th and Logan. So the last thing I want to say, actually, before I say the last thing, we have a newsletter and we would love for you to participate. So if you go to Oh yeah, and we are going to release it on the 10th because we're Perfect 10. Everyone, a lot of other newsletters put their newsletter out on the 1st, but sometimes information comes out between the 1st and the 10th. So as Perfect 10, we're going to release our newsletter on the 10th. So please sign up. There is spatially, I'm trying to do this backwards. In the corner, there is a link to sign up for our newsletter. Please do sign up. So the last thing I want to say is CPD, Community Planning and Development, is having a courtesy public briefing on updates to the building and fire codes. This is news to me. This is great. I'm really curious about our building and fire codes. So Tuesday, November 5th, the presentation begins at 3 p.m. I didn't set that time. Hope you can come. It's at the Denver Post building. There is question and answer at 4:30 p.m. So Tuesday, November 5th, 3 p.m. is the presentation, 4:30 p.m. is the Q&A, and it's at the Denver Post building. CPD, a courtesy public briefing on updates to the building and fire codes. Did we get any questions?
No.
Well,
Everyone must be so.
yeah, you're just so excited about what I have to share about District 10. So thank you very much for all, how many people are watching? All 5 of you who are watching. And so we're going to sign off just in time for Brother Jeff to start his live stream, right? He's not going to start until 2, right? So anyway, thank you so much. I am excited to serve you in District 10. I know this is, I'm a little silly, but really, I mean, I am a public servant. I am here to serve you, and I want to make sure that my content is entertaining, but really, at the end of the day, I want to make sure that this is informative. So I want to make myself available again. If there's information that you have that you want me to share, please do ask. And I would love to I'd love to provide you content that is relevant to you. All right, that's it. Have a wonderful weekend.